Well, hey guys, it's time for another China How It Is. Just give me a second. Terrible traffic once again. Anyway, this time I'm going to be talking about censorship. Primarily internet censorship. And I'll also cover other censorship of different medias, things like television, newspapers, etc. Just the kind of censorship that I have experienced living here in China. And the reason why I've decided to cover this topic is because for the last week I've been almost unable to access any of the Google apps on my phone, which is very frustrating because I depend on them a lot. Things like the Google Translate application very intermittently works. Google Maps doesn't work at all if you try and search for a location. What else? Well, just in general, Google Plus, the application's not working unless I'm at home in my, on my special proxy. So I decided it's about time to talk about this issue. A lot of people do ask me about, how they can access YouTube and Facebook and so on in China. So I'll talk to you about that too. But let's first of all just start with the actual problem of the censorship. Well, this bumper-to-bumper traffic is not improving my mood. Okay, let's talk about something very simple at first. Movie censorship. Now, I know that various countries do this, not just China. I know South Africa used to do it, especially during the 80s. Anything deemed offensive or whatever would be cut out. But in China, it's not really offensive things that are cut out, which they are, of course, but anything to do with China, anything that could cast China in a bad light is cut out. So I'll give you one very good example recently is, The Dark Knight, that very famous Batman movie, was not shown in China. And the reason it wasn't shown in China is because, if you've seen the movie anyway, sort of one of the bad guys in the beginning is this sort of Chinese guy, and they, because there's a Chinese guy being portrayed as a bad person, not allowed to show it on the mainland. So yeah, we didn't get to see The Dark Knight here, although everybody has seen it because they use those internet sort of pirate ways that I showed you previously to watch these movies, so they get seen anyway. Another example, I recall seeing one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I went to go watch in the theater with some friends, and there were huge chunks of it missing. I mean, it's got Chow Yun-fat, the Chinese actor, in it, and basically all of his scenes were cut out, and he only appeared for something like 2 minutes in the movie, which was very confusing to myself and the rest of the audience because it didn't make any sense. He was there and then he died, basically, and it didn't make sense that he would have such a small role. So when I went online and watched the pirated version anyway, I got to see that he actually has a pretty big role in the movie. So things like that, stupid things like that, I think it's stupid. I don't see how a fictional character like a pirate in a movie is going to give China a bad image, but for some reason they just don't want to allow that kind of thing. So you get that sort of censorship on the movie level. Of course, any news that has any kind of negative, international news that is negative towards China is cut out. I remember specifically watching some CNN in a hotel or something. I was watching CNN and it just cut to adverts, randomly. But then what they didn't cut was they didn't cut that sort of ticker tape at the bottom, which was showing it during the rest of the programming that was showing, and it was actually saying in the ticker tape something about China there, and that's obviously the part that they were trying to cut out, and that's why it kept cutting to adverts all the time. So anything negative about China or anything that puts China in a bad light is always left out of the media. Pretty much that's a rule. Well, traffic's still bad. Sorry, give me a second. Now, where I left off, I was going to start talking about the internet, okay? And that's, of course the part that yeah, is really a big worry for me and most expats that live here. Basically, when I first got to China, it wasn't that bad. I could access YouTube, I could access Facebook, but this is when these technologies or these websites were still very new. And that's generally how it is. China doesn't block anything until it finds a reason to block it, right? For instance, Wikipedia has been blocked often, you know, blocked and then let back on with provisions in certain areas of it cut out. Basically, when articles appear on Wikipedia that the Chinese government don't agree with, you know, if there's anything about the Cultural Revolution or any of that nonsense, you know, the stuff I was telling you we shouldn't talk about, then they'll block those specific pages, or, you know, in the first place they'll just block the whole site, and then maybe later open the site up and make sure specific parts are blocked. I mean, for instance, if you do a search on any politically sensitive things in Wikipedia, they don't turn up over here. But if you do the same search through a proxy, they will turn up. Facebook was great and worked very well for probably about a year or so when it first came out. And then there were some riots up in Xinjiang or something to do with Tibet or one of these things. And, you know, all the groups forming on Facebook to support the riots or to support you know, the political stuff, whatever, caused China to say screw that idea, and they blocked Facebook completely, and it hasn't been opened up since. So because of a bunch of, you know, political groups, whoever they were or whatever they were doing or whatever their causes, and people starting newsletters and things, Facebook's blocked in China. And to be honest, I don't see it opening up again. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. It's just too much of a threat to internal stability for the government to handle, so they just keep it blocked. So that's why Facebook is blocked. YouTube is blocked for similar reasons. You know, movies, videos come up on YouTube exposing bad things in China, or what are supposedly bad things in China, and you know, there's no way for the Chinese government to control it, so they blocked off YouTube. And another reason is also to stimulate the local internet businesses here. I mean, I know I work for Tencent, one of the biggest competitors to things like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. They make basically copies of, or I should say their own homegrown versions of Twitter and Facebook and MSN, or I should say ICQ, because the original QQ is a copy of ICQ. So blocking international companies like Google, Facebook, etc., it gives the local companies a big boost, and of course gets all the local people using the local products. I mean, Baidu instead of Google, etc., etc. Because the Chinese were using Google a lot actually in the beginning, but then when the government started blocking it off and making it almost impossible to use, and I know because I use it all the time, it's frustrating. So why use something that's frustrating you all the time and not working and not connecting, when you can just use a local site that does work and works really well? So for instance, the local microblogging sites, the local social media sites, the local video sharing sites, you know, at the click of a finger, the Chinese government can shut them down, can order them to remove certain posts, delete posts from them, let's say question people that post certain things. You know, they can find out the information of the users that post whatever things. So they have a lot of control over the local versions of, let's say, you know, Facebook and Twitter and all that sort of thing. Now, I make it sound like the Chinese government really does have a whole big brother thing going on, where they watch you and they catch you and they so on. It's not really like that. If you do go and cause a big problem online, yes, you are going to get the government knocking on your door or something like that. It is going to happen if you do cause a big problem. But it happens very seldom, and they very seldom actually try and intervene and block things, etc., you know, videos and so on. It's just the fact that they want to have that level of control. If there is a problem, they can delete it. It's there, you know, that's why they want to do it. Doesn't happen a lot, unless of course it's some kind of political thing. So for an average user, someone like you or me using the internet, we don't have to worry and think that, oh my word, somebody's watching me all the time, because it's not really going to ever affect you, unless of course you try to start a riot or go posting bad things about government officials or something online, because that's the only time you're actually going to pick up any trouble. Oh, and of course if you try and do illegal things, you know, too. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers the level of censorship on the internet. The internet is a very powerful tool for the average person in China, by the way, and because of the internet, there have been several cases where government officials have been caught out by local citizens and actually been, you know, put in jail for graft and things like that. There was a very famous case a couple of years back where local internet citizens noticed that a government official, a fairly low-level government official, was wearing, in photos online, was wearing a very expensive watch and smoking very expensive cigarettes. So they called him out, and an investigation was opened, and he was, you know, nailed for bribery and so on, and you know, put in jail or what have you. So, you know, it really is a very big thing in China. It's a very powerful force. Anyway, because it's so powerful, that's why the government feels the need to have such a tight control over it. Anyway, that's enough about that. How do you get past this stuff? Okay, well, I'm going to find some time now. I'm very busy, as you can see. I'm making this video in the car. I'm going to find some time to sit down, have a beer, and then I will tell you all about that.